What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Movement Mindset powered by Station Athletics. I'm Chris Hardenberg here with Joe Pasalacqua. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that I think entrepreneurs talk about a lot, but I think it's important for us to touch on is how winning is done when no one is watching. So kind of how the overnight success, right, takes 10 to 15 years to build towards. So I think this is something that you specifically, Joe, can speak to pretty in depth, especially because you've made comments before, and I know other successful entrepreneurs have as well, where it's like everyone cheers for you on the way up, but then wishes you to hopes you fall when you get to where you want to go. And so I'd love for you to kind of start us off with like maybe that aspect and then the grind that has been put in when no one is watching.
Of course. Well, that's the thing, right? People, you said it. It's one of the best quotes ever. Is everyone always rah-rahs you on the way up, and then as soon as you're there, you pass them, they like fucking hate you for it. It's pretty wild conceptually.
Right.
It was like oh, you're less friends, and like that whole component of like small circle that happens by default
Yeah.
when you succeed at things. Because I personally, a lot of people probably won't agree with me on this, is people just like get like jealous or they're mad that like you did what they chose not to do.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's someone online we both follow named Alex Hormozy, and he's put a lot of stuff out that says if you want to be exceptional, you have to be comfortable being the exception.
Yeah.
And like part of that is being comfortable where it's like saying no to things or having people kind of fall by the wayside because they're not in line with the vision you have going forward.
No, they may think they are, but a lot of people aren't. Right. It's like they need to be in line with the direction of the company that you want to take it in, or it doesn't even matter what it is. It's just like your life progression. Right. It's like for me, right, I'm constantly level up, because that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I am never been content with what I would refer to as stagnant in the same
Yeah.
place. And a lot of people are okay with that. And that's fine.
Nothing wrong with
Right.
that.
Nothing wrong with that. Not for me. But you shouldn't like point fingers of like, oh, like, well, why aren't you? Like, because I'm just not.
Yeah.
I could say the same exact thing. Me and my sister have had this conversation a bunch of years ago. We used to have conversations about how like, what's wrong with people? How come people don't want to, like, seriously, like
Yeah.
we literally said, like, I don't understand why people like don't want to like improve themselves personally or financially, or they want to continue to get that next raise or get that promotion, right? Or if you are really into like this and you think you want to make a living out of, you know, how many people have talked to me about like opening their own business, and I just like shrug it off because like after you talk to me about it 5 fucking times, I'm like, dude, like
It's not going to happen.
you're not gonna do it because you would have done it already.
Yeah.
Okay, because anyone that I know has done their own business, made the decision, and they move forward with that decision. And that was the end of the conversation. They're doing it. They may have asked me a bunch of questions on the way, but like they have already committed to doing it.
Right.
Okay. And people don't do that. People dwell on things. And we've talked about this previously to where it's like, make a decision and move on, even if it's the wrong decision. Right. And I talk to you about this all the time, right? We move so quickly because of speed decisions.
Yeah.
Okay. There are 2 solutions. You make a wrong choice or a right choice. And if you make the wrong choice, you just switch it until you make the right choice. Okay. Yeah. A lot of people will sit there and think of, I'm going to make a decision, but let me think about it first. And then 6 months go by and they still haven't fucking made a decision yet. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the downfall of why people can't execute and progress on things. Because you could have made 10 decisions in the amount of time of that one single decision to progress forward in whatever it is that you're doing. Is like, great example is we've made so many mistakes in the gym business, but I'm very content that we have an operational locations and company that operates on a location based at like a 95% effective rate.
Sure.
There's very, very few problems that we haven't addressed, but it took years and years and years to do that. We don't just open locations and then be like, oh, we're going to figure this out. Like we know exactly what the outcome is going to be. We know what our break even is. We know the hiring process. We know the firing process. We know internal issues. We know how to handle the memberships. We know how to handle purchasing the equipment. We know how to handle even the goddamn contracting side of it and the leases. I don't even need lawyers to read leases because I've done so many of them.
Yeah.
Okay. But the point being is it was trial and error until you figured it out. It's when you just don't make choices on things. And that's where people get stuck on, right? So then, because they didn't make a decision, right? And I continue to make decisions. That's really like the difference of progression.
Yeah, and that's something actually. It's funny. I was with my church small group this weekend, and one of the things that just kind of came up organically is like I find that the people that have the most success in business tend to be the people who react the best to failure, right? The people who struggle with decisions like that are generally people who are afraid to fail. Well, I don't want to make the wrong decision. It's like
Because they can't handle the stress of it.
and when that's it, it's like the people who are able to make quick decisions are okay with being like, yeah, that one didn't work out, but I learned from it and and was able to make the right decision. It doesn't affect their identity, right? Like you mentioned it, we've made so many wrong decisions in the gym business and so many mistakes, but it's the attitude of feedback where it's like, ooh, that one didn't work out. We're not going to do that again,
Yeah,
right?
it hurt.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
But this is my whole point, right? If you take me in general, I do a lot of different things.
Mhm.
Okay. I can handle an absurd amount of pressure and
Right.
stress. And I just go, meh, we're good.
And honestly, you put yourself in the situation
I know.
sometimes,
I'm
right?
like, yeah, we'll figure it out, Chris. And Chris is like,
It's so true.
he's like, and I'm like, dude, relax.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, here's a great example. Chris just had to hire a new district manager and a GM, and he still has to hire one more GM.
Yeah.
But you feel a lot better now once we got the district manager
Yeah.
and the other GM hired, right? And with the other location isn't close to being open yet. So like, it's not like a forefront thing that you have to deal with right now.
Right.
Okay. But like, that was stressing the shit out of you.
Yeah.
But I knew you were going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So for me, I'm going to continue to progress with what we're doing, because if I waited until you felt better and like you were like good, we would be months behind, and these two locations won't be open until the summertime. And that's not the case, because we have a target of January to March for both of these locations to be open.
Mhm.
And that's going to happen. So my point being is you develop the ability to handle stress and pressure by putting yourself into that situation and then working your way out of it. Because then you realize, oh, that wasn't so bad. Okay. And then when something bigger comes and you overcome it, it's like, oh, that's not so bad. So for something to like truly bother me and like stress me out, where like I'm not going to sleep, would have to be like astronomical.
Sure.
Like complete implosion of everything. But you know what? I'm gonna put my head down. I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's the biggest challenge that people have, is like you said it perfectly, is people cannot handle pressure and stress. And this is why a lot of people have trouble. Right. So let's like kind of backtrack. Is like, so winning is done when no one else is watching. So like, I know this is like, people may think that that's like off subject of what that is, but all those things are so important, because people not making choices and then progressing and doing things. It's like when I opened the first location, I slept in that gym.
Yeah.
Okay. I worked 7 days a week. I painted on the weekends, right? I taught all the classes. And as you progress and you start doing less things and you start like delegating, it's like there was a lot of work that went into that,
Mhm.
that like no one saw.
Right.
Right? No one sees those things. And then progressing one step forward, right? And it's like, so for me, it's like, okay, I bought my first house, right? It was like so rewarding, because like for me, I like remember like the upward path
Yeah.
of like, dude, and I'm talking about fucking everything. Like I couldn't buy dog food.
Yeah.
Right. So me and Sam just ate tuna and whatever. Chris especially.
It's my specialty.
Right. But like that's the thing that people don't understand, that it's like there's nothing is an overnight success. You win the lottery or some shit. Like,
Sure.
right. Okay, cool. But that doesn't happen. Every single business owner that I know that's been successful has a backstory that is not as simple as most people think.
Oh my gosh. Like that was there's two things that like really hit home with me since I've been working with you. One was I'll never forget. I was busting your chops about Samson. So for those of you that don't know Joe's dog Samson,
He's 14-year-old
He's
deaf wiener dog.
that's it. And he's a gigantic pain in the butt when you have food out. Like he just sits there and begs. And the first day I actually was at Station Road, I set my lunch down on a bench and it was too low. And I turned to type on my computer and he's nose deep in my lunch. Gone.
I tell every person when I have a new hire in any of the businesses, I go, listen, Samson is old. He's gonna steal your food.
Yeah.
He's little, but he will get your food. I
Yeah.
go, so make sure that you protect him. And I can't tell you how many times, like, God damn it, I would just hear it randomly. Because Samson's like on the desk, or he's long, dude. So
Yeah.
like a soup pull. I don't know, man. I don't know. He like picks up hooks and shit and pulls shit down.
But it was so funny is like I was busting your chops, like, dude, why is he so annoying? And you were just like, all right, I'll give it to you straight. Like, when I was opening the gym, I was so broke.
He was young. You also remember, so he's 14 and the gym is over 11 years old.
Yes. So you were like, I was so broke, I couldn't afford dog food. So like for years, he only ate people food because him and I would basically split the food.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, wow, like that's
Yeah.
wild to think about.
Uh-huh.
And then the second one is sleeping in the gym. Like I tell people that all the time. Like Joe and I recently went to a Jets game with his son and my son. And my son Riley is everything he thinks comes out of his mouth.
He's so funny,
Everything.
this kid.
And so I'm talking to him like, yeah, Joe's coming from Sparta. And in his head, Sparta is the gym. And so he's like, Joe lives in the gym? I'm like, no. So then we're in his car and I'm like, actually, Riley, like Joe did live in the gym for a while. He's like, what? And then he pauses and you can like see his wheels turning. And then he just goes, Joe, are you poor? Joe's at the steering wheel like, yeah, I really was. I was super poor. But that's exactly this, right? Where it's like people forget about that stuff.
No, and then they see the things and and then they equate to like, okay, but like you don't understand that like the build up and the rise.
Yeah. Or like the 7 gyms, hopefully going on 8 soon. It's like, wow, they're crushing it, this, that, and the other thing. It's like, yeah, but you didn't realize that you had to do that for the first year to even get the thing off the ground. They don't realize that in 2019, we almost went under.
Yeah.
And then we finally got out of debt and the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And like we had to lay off staff. We had to furlough staff. Like honestly, Joe had to had some really tough conversations with me included. Like, dude, I'm going to try to keep you on payroll for as long as I can. And I'm sitting there like, how am I going to pay my bills? And so it's like, we're not unique in this. And then what got us out of that is exactly this stuff. Like, like the number of times you got into other business ventures or went to other places or borrowed for friends.
It's to pull cash to pay for this. And it's like, and people don't realize like that's what it takes to move in a direction, is to pivot, learn, don't do it again.
Right.
Pivot, learn, don't do it again.
Right. Yeah. And then for me, like a lot of the same stuff is like, I mean, you know, my story, Joe, it's like at one point around the pandemic, I was literally working 4 jobs.
I remember.
I'm trying to keep the gyms afloat because Joe's like, you got to run the gyms.
And you're working on the marketing company.
Yes.
And then like, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm doing consulting for Natty's company.
Yeah.
I'm doing programming for Zor. And it's like, people see these things and it's like, no. I had to do that. Like, this was not a choice. I had to do that. And all of this was going on behind the scenes so that like I could pay my bills.
Yeah.
And then finally the gym started to gain traction again. And it's like, now what people don't realize is like, yes, like I'm not in front of the class. Yes, I'm not running a location, but they don't see me waking up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday to like plan out my week for the upcoming week. They don't see me get
7 a.m. emails and getting rolling.
Yes. Like
it's still the same thing because we have a big goal and progression, right? Like we have these 2 locations opening up in the beginning of 2025. We have a potential 2 or 3 additional opening in 2025.
Yeah.
And we built out a complete corporate structure where we have district managers managing the GMs. Like we literally have this set up to where we're going to be able to handle 15 plus locations just from a corporate perspective.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's a lot of work. It's not as simple as, oh, Joe bought a building or he signed a lease and now we have a new location. It's not that simple. It's designating all the micro pieces, right, to fulfill the end goal.
And I talk to people all the time. It's like, you know, you need to be able to do things in the beginning. Like when you're getting started, you have to burn the candle at both ends. Like you were selling pharma drugs and open the gym. And it's like, you have to do stuff like that. You can't just assume, oh yeah, I can work, 30, 40 hours a week, make it decent. No, that's 10 years down the line. Like you got to grind right now. And that applies to our members too. Like the people who lose weight, it's not just coming into the gym.
No, you know what? I'm so glad you pivoted to that, because if you take a step back from like our experiences and our business, now let's just flip it to the client side. How many people we watched lose a tremendous amount of weight? Okay. And the process that took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus years.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, that person looks great, but like, it wasn't just like this. It was like so much trial and error and consistency and keeping their head down and working and working and working and working, right? Like that's like, it's just a dedication to the end goal.
And that's the thing is like a lot of those people or the people we see that fall off, they have a million excuses, right? Or a million reasons that it won't work.
Dude, people are full of fucking excuses and everything. Yeah, I can't even handle it anymore, how bad it is.
Well, and especially when you have people who've lost weight who've had the same reasons to fall off at some point. Like, let's just use Shannon as an example. Like, for those of you that don't know, but she's talked about it on other episodes, Shannon, when she first signed up with Joe, was heavy and she lost a lot of weight. Do you think
It's wild because I don't even remember
I know.
her like that.
Me either.
Because
Well,
I see
didn't
her
know
every day, but then like I see a picture randomly, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like she worked a full-time job. She was a teacher and then a vice principal. And she had 2 kids that were very involved in sports. I can't tell you how many times Shannon's like, oh yeah, got to drive to Virginia this weekend. Got to, so it's like she had all the reason in the world to just be like, screw it. I'm just going to be this overweight mom. And it's like, it is what it is.
It builds such character across the board. And that's why she's in the position she's in too.
Yes.
Because you develop so much more than just like her weight loss journey and her education on nutrition, on strength training and all those things. But you develop so many great habits that roll over to her work, right? Because now she's able to educate people and people trust her on her decision making, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the point of all those, right? And again, you don't see the journey of almost 11 years of Shannon's weight loss growth, her career growth,
Yeah.
her career transition, and into where she is now, right? Like you don't see that. You just know like, oh, Shannon's a district manager, like, oh, and like how many people are like, oh, not necessarily judge the position, but like they don't look at like why she's in that position.
Yeah. And it's, again, it's like, it's funny as you were saying that, I just kind of made me think like our business is built on people like that. So not only just the members who come in and follow what our GMs tell them to do, and the ones who are successful, they weigh and measure, they say no to things, they're walking, again, doing all the things when no one is looking, so that, in a year, people are like, oh, well, I could never look like you. It's like, well, you didn't see me 2 years ago. Yeah, you can look like me. But also for our employees, like we've said this before, like if you look across our company, how many of our general managers were like people like this, where it's like, they'd never had a sales position before. They, have struggled for years or had to learn a new skill. And it's like, they worked on it when no one was looking or in the dark. And now they're super successful within our company. And so this really is a principle for life across multiple things, is like, you have to be willing to put in the work when no one is looking so you can be that overnight success.
That's exactly right. So again, let's just kind of end with that and end with, make sure that when you are looking at an outside perspective and you see people's personal growth, business growth, the growth of someone as a father, as a mother, understand that that person was most likely, actually, I'm going to say that they were never like that.
Right.
It was a development.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
So,
and you don't know what that consisted of from a struggle perspective, or, what they dealt with to get to that point.
Absolutely. So, thanks for listening, guys. I think that was one that, Joe and I have talked about a lot just in our own conversation. So it's nice to kind of get it on camera. So as always, guys, please throw us a 5-star review on the podcast platform you listen on. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube and Instagram, and we'll see you at the gym. Peace.